You step off the plane at Narita Airport. You take the train into the city. You walk out of Shinjuku Station, one of the busiest train stations in the entire world, used by over 3.5 million people every single day, and you stop. You look down. The floor is spotless. Not clean for a train station clean. Not they must have just mopped clean. Just genuinely, unexplainably spotless. No coffee stains, no gum stuck to the tiles, no mystery liquid in the corner, no overflowing trash by the exit. You walk outside onto the street. Same thing. You find a back alley. Same thing. You go to a park. Same thing. At some point, every first-time visitor to Japan has the exact same thought. How is this possible? A nation of 125 million people, some of the densest urban environments on Earth, tens of millions of people moving through public spaces every single day, eating, drinking, commuting, shopping, and yet the streets look like someone vacuumed them this morning. Today, we're going to find out exactly why.
The cleanliness of Japan's streets doesn't begin on the streets. It begins in a classroom, when a child is about 6 years old. Japanese schools, as we've touched on before, have no janitors. From the very first year of elementary school, students are responsible for cleaning their entire school building. Classrooms, hallways, staircases, bathrooms, the courtyard outside. Every single day, without exception. This practice is called soji, cleaning time, and it runs for about 15 to 20 minutes at the end of each school day. Students work in rotating teams. Everyone participates. No one gets out of it. But what makes soji different from simply assigning kids a chore is the framing around it. In Japanese schools, cleaning is not presented as punishment. It's not the consequence of bad behavior. It's not something reserved for the lowest status students. It is presented as a form of respect for your classmates, for your teachers, for the building you share, and for the community around you. There's a Japanese concept tied to this called kansha, gratitude. The idea that you should feel grateful for the space you occupy and express that gratitude through care. When you clean your school, you're not doing a chore. You're expressing kansha. You're saying, I appreciate this space and I will take care of it. 12 years of doing this every school day doesn't just teach children to clean. It wires a relationship between occupying a space and being responsible for that space so deeply into a person's psychology that it becomes automatic, unconscious, just the way things are. By the time a Japanese person is an adult, leaving a mess in a public space doesn't feel like a rule they're following. It feels like a violation of something internal, something personal. And that's a completely different kind of cleanliness, far more powerful than any fine or enforcement mechanism.
Japan is what sociologists call a high-context, collectivist society. That's a technical way of saying the group matters more than the individual, and a huge amount of social communication happens through unspoken shared understanding rather than explicit rules. One of the most powerful expressions of this is how Japanese people relate to public space. In many Western cultures, public space is understood as no one's space, which in practice often means it's treated as everyone's dumping ground. If it's not mine, I don't need to take care of it. Someone else will clean it up. In Japan, the cultural understanding runs in the opposite direction. Public space is everyone's space, which means everyone is responsible for it. The street in front of your home or business is yours to sweep. The park bench near your office is yours to keep tidy. The train seat you're sitting in belongs to the next person who will sit there, so you leave it exactly as you found it. This extends to an almost ritualistic level of care. Walk through any traditional Japanese neighborhood early in the morning, and you'll see residents, elderly men and women especially, sweeping the pavement in front of their homes, watering the small plants by their doorstep, picking up any stray leaf or wrapper that drifted overnight. Nobody told them to. Nobody is watching. They do it because the street is part of their shared space, and shared space deserves care. There's even a word for this voluntary neighborhood cleaning, machizukuri, literally town making. The idea that a community is not just the buildings and infrastructure, but the collective act of maintaining and caring for it together.
Here's a small detail that has an outsized impact on street cleanliness, and it surprises most tourists when they first hear it. In Japan, eating while walking is considered bad manners. Not illegal, not strictly forbidden, just not done. Or at least not in most contexts. The Japanese term for it is aruki nagara shokuji, eating while walking, and it carries a mild but real social stigma. It's seen as sloppy, inattentive, disrespectful to the food, and inconsiderate to people around you. You might do it if you've just bought a street food snack at a festival stall, but even then, many people will stop, eat in one spot, dispose of their wrapper properly, and then continue walking. Think about what this means for street cleanliness. A significant portion of outdoor litter in most cities comes from people eating and drinking on the go, dropping wrappers, spilling drinks, abandoning half-finished food containers. In Japan, that entire category of mess is dramatically reduced simply because the behavior that creates it is socially discouraged. When Japanese people buy food from a convenience store or a street vendor, the default behavior is to eat it there, standing near the store, finishing completely, disposing of packaging in the appropriate bin at the point of purchase, and then continuing on their way. It's a tiny behavioral difference, but multiplied across millions of people every day, it's one of the reasons Tokyo's sidewalks look the way they do.
Here's the part of Japan's cleanliness story that almost never gets told, because it happens mostly in the dark, or in the very early morning, or in places tourists don't look. Japan has a deeply developed professional cleaning culture that operates at a scale and level of detail almost unmatched anywhere in the world. The most famous example is the Shinkansen cleaning crews, the teams that clean Japan's bullet trains at stations during turnaround time. Each Shinkansen train has about 7 minutes between arriving and departing again. In that window, a team of cleaners in bright red uniforms boards the train, flips every seat, vacuums every aisle, wipes every tray table and window, cleans the bathrooms, and removes all trash, with enough time left to bow to the passengers waiting on the platform before they board. 7 minutes, 1,300 seats. Done. This team is called Tessei, and their work has become so famous internationally that business schools around the world study them as a case study in operational excellence and professional pride. But it's not just the Shinkansen. Japan's cleaning workforce, the people who clean office buildings, subway stations, shopping centers, hospitals, and public parks, approach their work with a level of professionalism and craft that is genuinely remarkable. In Japanese professional culture, the concept of shokunin, roughly translated as craftsman or artisan, applies to almost any skilled work, including cleaning. A master cleaner is not just someone who mops floors. They are someone who has devoted years to understanding materials, techniques, and the care required to maintain a space to the highest possible standard. That mindset, that cleaning is a craft worthy of mastery, produces results that are visible to anyone who spends time in Japan's public spaces.
Japan's relationship with cleanliness isn't just a daily habit. It's built into the rhythm of the entire year through cultural and seasonal rituals that reinforce the same values over and over. Osoji, the Great Cleaning, happens twice a year, at the end of the year in December and before the new year begins. Homes, offices, shops, and public institutions are cleaned from top to bottom. Not a tidy up, a deep clean. Every corner, every surface, every shelf. The idea is that you enter the new year, and in Japan, the new year is deeply significant, tied to Shinto traditions of renewal and purity, in a space that is completely fresh and uncontaminated by the old year.
Cherry blossom season brings millions of people into parks across Japan for hanami, flower viewing parties. Parks fill with picnic blankets, food, and drinks. And when the day ends, the parks are clean. Groups bring their own bags, sort their own waste, and leave no trace. Municipalities occasionally provide temporary bins during peak season, but even so, the cleanliness maintained by millions of hanami visitors would be extraordinary anywhere else in the world. After major sporting events or concerts, situations where massive crowds in most countries leave behind mountains of trash, Japanese fans are famous internationally for staying to clean the stadium or venue themselves before leaving. After matches at the FIFA World Cup, Japanese supporters have repeatedly made international headlines for cleaning their sections of the stadium, win or lose. It's not organized by officials, it's not required. They just do it because that's who they are.
So, why are Japanese streets so clean? Not because of heavy fines, not because of an army of street sweepers running 24 hours a day, not because of some magical cultural ingredient that no one else can access. Japan's streets are clean because of something that was built deliberately, layer by layer, year by year, generation by generation. It starts in a first-grade classroom where a 6-year-old learns to mop a hallway and understands for the first time that caring for shared spaces is a form of respect. It continues through years of cultural reinforcement, through the concept of meiwaku, through shokunin pride, through seasonal rituals of renewal, through the silent daily practice of sweeping the pavement in front of your home. By the time a Japanese person is walking down a street with a wrapper in their hand and no bin in sight, the question of whether to drop it isn't really a decision anymore. It was made for them, decades earlier, in a school that had no janitor. That's not infrastructure. That's not law enforcement. That's culture doing what culture does best, shaping behavior so completely that the behavior stops feeling like a choice. And the result is streets so clean, they feel like a different world entirely.